Here we're going to look at selecting a tenant and the menu structure and the dashboard and everything that you have available to you in a tenant and the various bits and pieces that you can do. I'm going to go ahead and have a look for a tenant from my menu in the top right hand side. Just briefly, this is my admin dashboard, which I'd actually left with no widgets in it, but if I was to say select a tenant list to put in this dashboard, typically when I log in I would see my list of tenants here and I can search through them, I can sort of scroll through them, but I always tend to use this menu up at the top. So if I look for beta test company, when I select that tenant, that loads that tenant up to my current session. So now I have this red menu item on the left hand side is my tenant manager, so whenever I go anywhere else, if I go to any other pages, I can always get back to my tenant dashboard. And for the current time that I'm logged on now to this system, I am editing this tenant, I'm managing this tenant. If I wanted to edit a different tenant, then I would select that tenant and then I would be editing everything within this tenant, all users, all benefits, etc. So you sort of work on one tenant at a time. You can't have two tenants open at the same time, say in a different tab on your browser or anything like that. So you are sort of protecting yourself by just working on that one tenant at that one time. So logging into the tenant, I initially see a dashboard like I did with the platform, and we've got some widgets here. We've got quite a few more widgets cropping up here, and I'll leave that to you to have a look at. Again, these widgets are all dependent on your permissions, what you're allowed to see, and it's up to you what you might want to see. And there's an awful lot of stuff there that you might not be of interest. And of course, this includes all of the modules, or this is related to all of the modules that are installed on this platform and are available to this tenant. So there's no, this is the MyWorkPal sort of sandbox application. So it's got everything in it. So it's therefore got all of the widgets available to us. So the first off thing here is we've got notes. So you can create tenant notes. So if it's just this, I think James might have added that one. This company likes cheese every September. So you can just add a note and save it, and then so you can give yourself a note, enter yourself a reminder. So begin in December, I need to do that. Remind me and remind Claire and whatever, and then you can upload a file. You can switch on that reminder so you can make sure that it actually sends it. So now when it gets to that date, it will send a reminder. So it's just a quick sort of task list. This link goes back to the dashboard, so it takes you back to the home page. Now, some of these menus start to get fairly hefty, so we'll hopefully rattle through them quite quickly. So we've got configuration. This is the very basic details when you set the tenant up in the first place. So their name, the subdomain. So this is the important bit. And as you build this, it starts to build out this subdomain, and that is how you would access the site. So if I actually click on this, it will take me to to that tenant. I'm not logged in, so it's going to take me to the home page. I close that down. So we got, is it in demo mode? No, it's not. This can show me which admins or which role-based admins have access to this tenant. So you are creating administrators, HR administrators, or admins within your own company to manage tenants, and this gives you a list of all of the role-based, they are called role-based administrators, and this is giving you a list of all of the role-based administrators who have access or who will manage this tenant. Tenant to name, if you've got multiple domains on your platform, then you can select which domain it's on. If you were to select proposition 1, then you would only be able to get to that tenant on proposition 1. So that kind of defines the domain name that can access that tenant. Most people don't have multiple domains; they just have a single domain. Tenant theme. So we will have created your own theme for you. I've got a bit of everything in here, but we always ship it with the MWP theme, which as you can see is sort of fairly innocuous. It's just a kind of a vanilla theme, but you can, if you've got multiple themes, then you can choose which one to work on, and then you're likely to have to make some not inconsiderable changes to the way that you do things on that theme as well, if it does very specific things. But that changes the underlying base theme. Language and date locale. So if you have included different languages or dates, date stamps and currency formatting, then you can set the locale of this tenant. At the moment, you have to set locale at tenant level. You can't set it at individual user level. That is a future development that we'll do, but it is at the whole tenant level. So if you set it to French, then it will be it will favour the French version of resource strings if there are French versions, or otherwise it will fall back to the UK version, and it will use the euro pounds, the euro symbol for currency. Here you set the private homepage and the public homepage. They're both set to benefits welcome, which doesn't make sense because benefits welcome on the public, when you log in as a public site, is actually doesn't allow access to doesn't allow anonymous access. So what I'm doing here, when I click on here, it's trying to get there, but then it's, as you can see here, it's trying to get there, but then it's just sending me back straight to the login page. But if, for example, I'll just do something very quickly here. I'll go to the content and create a welcome public. That has to be a hyphen. I'm going to copy that to my clipboard. If I allow anonymous viewing and say welcome to the public page, so now this is the page. If I just test this, it's called welcome to the public page. Now because I'm not logged in, it allows me to see that, so and that's because I'm allowing anonymous viewing. Back into here, if I was to say, right, let's set the public home page as that needs to be pages / welcome public. So now when I visit the actual base domain of, or the base page of the tenant, it will go to that welcome public page. Now the private home page, that is the page that you get to once you log in. So you have to say whether it wants to be the My Benefits page or a content page in this case, or a dashboard. Then you can say which page you want to land on. Next up, we've got registration settings. So this is all this is generally set to no, but this allows you to capture more information about the user when they first log in to the site. So if somebody has, we called it registration extra step. This is because if you as a user register, you just register with your email address and your preferred password, then it goes through a quick process of authenticating you, send you an email to say please activate this account, etc. When you first log in, you might want to collect some more information, so their personal details, employee details, that sort of thing. And this is really just for propositions where you are collecting, or where you are allowing more anonymous or slightly anonymous people to register and log into your site. So if you've got a large business and that you're working with, and you are just providing the cycle to work scheme for them, you might have posters up around the business that says, come here and register, and then we can get you started on choosing your bike. Um, that kind of works if it's a huge company, 20,000 people in it, and you don't want to be loading all of those people up onto the system just for the sake of 100 people who might want to take out the bike to work scheme. So it's sort of relevant for that kind of thing. Most of our clients are loading up the employee users, so they don't really need to go through this stage. But this has is quite granular on how much it can require when you first log in. So the screen is that for your first time you log in, it'll say, "Welcome. Please, can you confirm these details?" So this will allow you to capture that extra information. User registration. So this says, "Is registration enabled?" So if I go back to the login screen, user isn't enabled in this. If I say is, then can I allow the account to log in after registration? Yes or no? Various bits and pieces there. So this sort of defines whether I can allow people to register for a new account. User settings. This defines what you can and can't see, what you can and can't, what the user can and can't see, and what the user can and can't do. Whether accounts are deleted automatically, that sort of thing. Again, as with all these things we've got, or with most pages, we've got help on this page, so that's got sort of details around what these what the various controls do. So certainly refer to those. User security. This is around talking about two-factor authentication, external providers, user access groups, which is a fairly hefty piece of work that we did to do with segregating groups of employees that can be managed by specific HR managers. So 1,000-man company, and you've got 500 people in the north, 500 in the south, and you just want to give access to the appropriate 500 people for an administrator. System is more a kind of a core level basic sort of, so which what's the base email address for the application, or for the from address. Enable secure messaging, which is this area here. Resources. Now this is where, if we looked at resources in the previous video, where we have all the resources for the company set at platform level, but this is where you can override those. Go to the site myself and go to login. I'm just going to get rid of that one there so we can show you how this works. So if I forgot my password, so I was to say, right, I don't like the phrase "I forgot my password." That's been set at platform level as that resource, but here I want to say, I want to change it. So if I start typing the value, so I can see what the value of the text is, if I start typing that in, it will say, right, this is the resource name, and it says I forgot my password. I change that to forgotten password and save. So what that has done now is, as that is said, all the resources, I think there are 14,000 of them, all the resources for this tenant will be derived from the platform level library, but 3 of them we're going to override. We're going to override the names there. So instead of saying I forgot my password, it now says forgotten password. For other tenants, other than the one that we're working on, it would either revert to the platform level resource, or if they've got their own, override. So whilst forgot password, it doesn't seem particularly important resource or a piece of wording to change, that it shows you the principle that you can change the wording at tenant level. Again, we keep coming back to this platform level, tenant level override. We've got the same principle for settings. Again, lots of trues, falses, numbers, how many days to this, how many days to that, that sort of thing. We've got quite a few more on this page, and again, this is override settings for this particular tenant. The reason we've got quite a few here is that when you actually do something like, if I go to user settings, this by default is sort of out of the box. It's deriving all of the information from the platform level. But if I was to change any of these and then save it, then it will actually, it's actually saving a setting, for this tenant. So it will have, it will reflect on that setting in here. So it shows that setting in this area as well. So when you first get your um, your platform, we would probably go through a stage of saying, how do you want this platform to work? Do you generally want to allow people to update their date of birth or their gender or NI number on their profile? Do you generally, as a rule, want to allow these various things to happen? And you can make that decision um, as a kind of a standard for the platform, and then therefore any new tenant you create will follow those rules. But then if you need to override that for a tenant specifically, then you can either through these pages, or if it is a setting that isn't available on a kind of a user interface page, then you can do it manually. And again, it's the same sort of the same principle as finding that name. I think the settings, it doesn't actually come up with a suggestion, so it might be a case of actually going to the platform level settings and having a look for them. So it's usually a case of how finding a setting by name. We don't actually have a full list of the settings in the knowledge base, but we've got there's lots of support in FAQs to say, if you want to say, how do I can I switch off all email sending, and then it will say, right, go and set this setting to true or false or whatever. Modules, we've looked at what modules are available on the platform, and this talks about which modules are enabled at this particular tenant level. So whilst we've got all the modules available on the platform, we're not including admin planner, calc engine, that sort of thing on this tenant. So we just have the specific ones switched on. Schedule tasks. This looks at the tasks that are running on the system that are relevant to this tenant only. So we've got all the things around expiring or renewing or enrolling benefits, but just for this company, just for BetaCo. And again, we've got some, we'll go into the scheduled tasks a bit more in a different video, but we've got some things where tasks have failed, so you can actually see what the problem is, and then we can sort of debug through that. Single sign-on, inbound or outbound. This is if you have the module installed. So inbound is single signing on from a corporate network, an Active Directory corporate network, and single sign-on. Outbound is for SAML2, single sign-on to a third party, such as a gym company or a discount card company. So that this all requires the module to be included on your system, and certainly in the case of the single sign-on outbound, it requires quite a lot of setting. This is generally something we would help you with setting up on the outbound, but the single sign-on inbound is something you can set up yourself. Home insurance is a specific module, so come and speak to us about that. It's for home insurance, getting home insurance quotes through Sutton Winson. Data triggers. This is a system where you can watch for changes to data and then trigger certain things. So, for example, if somebody's salary goes raises by more than 10%, then open a benefit window for XYZ benefit, or if they change from being an employee to a director, then terminate health cash plan and open the window for enrolling into private medical insurance, that sort of thing. But it can also do things like send emails and various bits and pieces. So this system is growing in its capability of what we can do. Metadata, we looked at metadata previously on the at the platform level, so we've got metadata in at platform level, but metadata here is specifically to this company. So you can manage metadata schema for this company specifically. So in the employee details, personal company and tenant details. So if you've got something specific that you need, some specific extra data that you need for to hold against employees in Beta Co, then you can do it this way. And the way that this works is you have metadata groups, and then you have the items within it. So there's a metadata group called reward, and then in this case it's got items for used, extra, and cont date, presumably contribution date. So these fields would appear on the employee details screen, and you'd be able to populate those details per employee. Also in the metadata menu is the data transfer, so that you can upload and download data into personal details and employee details. You don't need to do that for company details metadata because it's already there. If I was to have a look at company details metadata, what have we got here? So we've got two metadata fields: people value configuration, PNMM configuration. That's logically this could actually be combined to be a shopping voucher configuration and have each of these values here. But if I was to, because this is in company details, if I go over to the next menu item, the company, and go to details, so this is the basic details about the company, brand, email address. A lot of this information is not really used but on the screens, but it's available to you as expressions if you need to. Chief Executive Officer is if you are using an HR capability within this for line managers and booking holidays and that sort of thing. You need to have somebody at the top of the tree so that you can sort of look down from that level at the individual people, and this allows the CEO to be managed by to have the holidays approved or whatever by somebody below them, and it allows them to sort of to create that structure from there. But in terms of metadata, here's an example of the metadata. So we looked at the people value configuration, PNMM configuration, and the individual items within it. So you're actually setting these values for this company, and you can use expressions to go and get that data and use it wherever you need to. Cost centers is where you can segregate different parts of the company into different cost centers, and then you can specify individuals who are in those different cost centers. So you could say or whatever. So it's entirely up to you. It's just a way of categorizing it. Now, with those in place, I can now, when I select a user, then I can say that who is in what cost center, and a user can be in 0 or 1 cost center, so they're sort of linked to just definitely one cost center. That can be used for if you're doing user access groups or something like that. You can say, right, you can segregate people into those different cost centers that way. Contacts and addresses are just really used just for this back office level. Really, they're not used too much for the. They don't really reflect on anything that the user on the front end would see. It's really more of a sort of a back office directory of information. Employee groups is used very heavily by a lot of our clients. Is where you can. It's similar to cost center in that it's just an identifier for a cost for an employee group. but the main thing is that users can be members of 0 or more employee groups. So you could be in, so you as a user could be in red beta, somebody else could be in red beta and blue beta. So you could be in multiple groups. So the idea is that you could have employee groups for and employees. So as you can see, you could quite easily be in North and managers. You could be in South and employees, or South and managers. So you can use this to say, I only want to show this thing, this benefit, this piece of text, whatever you need to do to people who meet the specific criteria. And you can use it to say, disallow anybody to see this piece of text other than people who are in South and managers. So importantly, employees can be in more than one cost center where it's, sorry, more than one employee group, which is obviously different to cost centers where it's one-to-one. Pick lists manages the options within drop-down lists. So some of these you have to have a single one at least, a default version, but most of these you can add or remove these pick lists. Items in this pick list. So there is a specific list of pick lists that relates to whatever modules you have in your system. So quite a lot of these relate to the HR sort of functionality. Libraries, we've got rate tables and lookup tables. So we looked at rate tables previously on the platform level. So this is where you can create and manage rate tables, typically for employee benefit rates. We'll come on to that in a bit more detail when we start to look at building employee benefits. We'll do that in a separate video. Lookup tables is a bit more of an advanced feature. It allows you to create almost an Excel spreadsheet style sort of multi-column, multi-row table, and you can look up values within it with some extended sort of functions within that. Probation dates, you might want to say that this company supports up to 3 probation dates. So the first probation date is 1 month after the start date, the second one is 3 months after the start date, the third one is 12 months after the start date. So you can say, right, if you've been working for us for 3 months, then you're definitely going to keep your job. If you've been working for us more than 1 month, then certain benefits are open to you. After 12 months, then your pension contributions can unlock going up to the next level, that sort of thing. So the way these work is that it will automatically calculate these probation dates based on a user's start date and populate those dates. But you can, for each individual user, you can go to their employee details and you can alter the date on their records. So if you're not entirely sure that they're going to pass their second probation date, then you can change that date. You can set it forwards a bit. And we've got some expressions that say what are the various probation dates. What have you passed the various probation dates? So you can use that to limit or to drive some information on the screen or in benefits, etc. Data transfer templates. This is where you can create your own, match your own spreadsheet to upload data into the system. So if you have an HR file of user data, you can map the columns in your spreadsheet to areas of data on the system, and that can include personal employee details, address details, and any of the metadata fields as well. And this, importantly, data transfer templates allows you to set the key that identifies each user as either our own system ID, internal system ID, which you're very unlikely to have on your own HR system or your client's HR system, or the other items is that it can key on NI number, email address or employee number, so that employee code that your company holds for each user. Static data uploads, that is a module that we would need to switch on, and this can be used for creating something like pay slips. Or, for example, with pay slips, we say, right, this is the name of the file that I've created, these are the columns in the file, and then we in here we've got system ID, payroll number, employee, but we will key our system ID on we will key the system ID in the spreadsheet on our system ID. Again, this is similar to the data transfer template, so you can key it on system ID, employee ID, payroll number, or NI number. And then when you upload that file, it will drop the values into this document sort of builder. And then when it does that, it will create a PDF and put that into the user's document area. So basically, you could create pay slips each month. The other way things that we've done, we created benefit summaries. So once a year, you could say, right, here is a summary of the benefits that you've had for this year. And it can also send an email to say there's a new document for you, so come and have a look at it. Uploads and downloads. Again, this is a module that we need to install. So this is where you can do. You can connect to an external third-party location to upload data to or download data from, and locations can be, in this case we've got a Dropbox location, so locations can be FTPS, SFTP, Dropbox or Google Drive, and we give you information on how to connect to each of those. We don't provide any of these locations. You have to or your client has to provide the SFTP or the Dropbox or Google Drive, but this is a facility to connect to those locations. And then once you've done that, you can upload data into it or download data from it. Typically, uploading data is uploading a report that you've built. So once you've got the location sorted out, then if you have an HR data file that you've mapped in the data transfer templates, and you know that it works, you know the format's right, and your company said that is the format of the file, it's never going to change. You can periodically, once a month or once a week, whatever, you can periodically download that file from their SFTP location and pass it straight to the data transfer templates process, and it can automatically update that data, so it can seamlessly keep that data updated. We've got lots of sort of fail safes in there to catch where files haven't worked, where the file doesn't exist, if they haven't put it there, or if the columns have changed, or if it's duplicating. Then there's lots of stuff in there to help you manage it. Next is users. So these are the employee users within the system. So the first menu looks at, just gives you a list of the users, and you can search for users. This also, by default, only shows you the non-closed accounts, so therefore the open accounts. But you can switch to view closed accounts, and if you close an account, typically it will change your address, and it will close that account so that person can't log in now, and the account is marked as closed. Importantly, when you do close an account, so if you take any of these test accounts, I close that account there, it doesn't delete that user, it's just closed that account. It's what we call soft deleted that user, so it's terminated their benefits, it's sent an email to that user, to that account, to say the account has now been closed, but that user is still there. So if you were to actually go and, if you really wanted to go and totally delete that user, you can still see that user in the closed accounts. You can select it if you need to reopen them. If you reopen that account, it doesn't automatically re-enroll them into the benefits. You need to do that separately. But here you can, if you need to, you can reopen the account here, or if you click here, you can actually permanently delete that account. So that will remove any of their completely remove any of their data and wipe them from the system. And then that can't be undone. You can't get that user back again. Within company, there is a setting that says if you want to make sure that any closed accounts are permanently deleted within 6 months of them being closed, then there is a setting to do that. You can go through that process. So other items we've got on here, we've got create new user, so you can create a new user going through the new user wizard. So this is probably the easiest way to go through it at this first time around. Or we've got data transfer, and here we've got an upload and download process across a number of areas. There's a fair amount of help on this page. There's quite a lot of detail of what each of those data transfers can do. So importantly, if you select it, you can download the users, and then you could add new users, you can make changes, and then you can drop that file into here. Once you drop the file into there to process, it will put the number into pending uploads. It will increment that number by 1. If the upload fails, it will increment the number in failed uploads. If it passes, it will increment the number in completed uploads. And you can actually see the detail in here, so you can see pending uploads, failed uploads, completed data uploads, and you can actually get at the files for the completed uploads if you need to. So there's an awful lot going on in the data transfers for the different areas, but all of these key on our own system ID. So when you create a new user in the system, it automatically generates a key, and that is across all users in the whole of the platform. So all users across all tenants, and including admin users, it's just incrementing that number. So there is no one user. There are no 2 users in the system with the same system ID across the whole of the platform. Process new users is where you can actually invite the new users to activate their accounts. So when you create a new user, either by manually on the screen here through the through the create new user, or whether you upload them through the data transfer or the template data transfer. When you create new users, it doesn't automatically send them an email to say come and log into your account. It gives you the opportunity to create that user, test them, to upload them into benefits, do whatever you need to, and then when you're ready to do it, then you can process those new users. And what that does is that sends an email to the user, account processed invite. So this email will say somebody's created an account. So obviously you can change this, you can set all the wording as you want to. But within this, the process new users will activate, or it will unlock their account so they can actually log in, send that email to that user, and ask them to follow the link and follow the instructions to activate their account. So you can either do it one at a time, click by processing one person at a time, or you can select a group of people if you want to do it by email suffix, or you can just process every user. If you have this switched on, you can say auto process users after X days, and include users from this date onwards. So there's instructions on the knowledge base article about that. Benefits, we'll come on to that later in a different video, but this is all around configuring benefits and packages and groups and things like that. TRS, again, that's something that we can come on to in more detail, but that's how you can configure the total reward statements for individual users. Annuities is the annuity quote engine, which connects to iPipeline to get real-time annuity quotes from providers. That is a module that we need to that we can specifically include on your platform. Human resources, this really covers a number of areas, again with modules. So if you have it installed, then you can view the organization chart. So this creates a structure of the CEO that we looked at previously, and the people that they are connected to in that structure below it. Content is pretty much a a mirror of the content management areas that we looked at previously in this main area, but it sort of provides tenant level versions of those contents. But also what we've got up here is a style editor. Now this all depends on the theme that we build for you. So in this style editor we can say, right, so for the front end of the site, so let's go and have a look at the site itself. If I just log on to that site. So here we are, we've got a page. It's just fairly simple. It's got a logo. In this case, if you watch that animation, it's got two logos that sort of come together, and it's got coloring, styling, font, that sort of thing. Now if you obviously you want to change this to make it suit your client tenants, so we provide this page where we can give you the tools, the simple sort of tools to actually choose colors or sizes or fonts or that sort of thing that actually override the styling of this. So if you wanted to change the logo here, then you can choose a new logo from your list that you've uploaded to. And this can be images that are stored in the tenant or stored at platform level. Also at the bottom we've got, which is a very powerful area, the custom CSS. So this is where you can override any style or any CSS area within the site with this custom CSS, and this will do the whole lot job. So you could use this to really sort of go to town on styling up a tenant. Other areas here, we got files, images. This is all very much a tenant level version of what we were looking at previously in the platform level content management. This does the list of files on this page does include global files, so you can actually see the files that are available from platform level. But of course you can't manage them from here. You can only see them. But these files here are platform level files, and it's the same process of creating a file and uploading them. Incidentally, with the files, you can do something called audit access. So you can say, if I go and edit a file, actually, so this file here, the title is document 2. That is the actual file. If you audit access, what that means is that when a user clicks to download that file, it will actually put a marker against their name, so it will say, you'll be able to see that this person has looked at this file. So that's quite useful if you need people to look at compliance documents. You need to check who hasn't looked at compliance documents, that sort of thing. Images, again, like the platform level, we've just got a list of the icons, but the main thing is we've got the images that are specific to this tenant. Menu builder. This is where, if I just sort of set this back, revert it, this will actually then say that this hasn't got a specific menu for this tenant now, so it's just going to fall back to the platform level menu. So I can see this is the default menu that we set at platform level. So this is because I've actually taken away the custom menu for the Beta Co menu. So if I were to say, right, that's fine, I want to start with that menu, so you can load it from the tenant, or you can use the system menu. So you're doing this loads the system menu. Loading from template will actually find any of the menus that you have actually stored at that level. So if I say, right, use system menu, and then here I can change it to how I want. So if I want to say log me out, then log me out. So that's overridden that at that tenant level. And of course you can build up your own menu items. So just a case of adding an item, um, saying a link. You can add an optional image or an icon depending on your theme, how it works. And then type in a URL. So you can choose from a page URL or from some of our standard pages, or of course this could be an external site, and then you might want to say external so that it opens up in a new window. Visibility, this says whether it's only available to authenticated or logged in users, or whether it's only available to non-authenticated users, or it's available to everybody. So you can just specifically say you see this menu item if you're not logged in, or if you are logged in, that sort of thing. And you can also restrict it to employee groups or by expression. And again, that's something we'll go into in more detail. But here, that's just created that link, and then it will just open a link to Google. Page templates is again the same as we looked at previously at platform level. So you can create your own page templates, add a page template. You can import an existing page template. So this will look at page templates that you've created at platform level. So you can say, take that page template and import it. So it brings all of the content in, and then you can edit it and do whatever you need to, and save and publish that page template. So the idea is that because I've brought in that pages pension transfer, if I was to say, let's go and have a look at that. Pages pensions transfer. So that's what that looks like there. Of course, I can say, if I wanted to specifically make this content for this page here, so that's the change that I made there. But of course this page, I know that this page is available at platform level because I downloaded it from there, so I do know that. So pages pensions transfer, so I know that that page is there. That is a generic page at platform level, but because I brought it into tenant level, it's exactly the same address, but I've overridden the wording of it. But if I was to come back here, if I was to just delete that page from this tenant level area, I can still get to that page because it is available at platform level. So it's this principle of the page or the address will look for a page at tenant level first. If it can't find it at tenant level, it will go up to the platform level. But of course, if you want to, you're happy with that page, you're happy with the content of the page, but you just want to change it a little bit, so then you can import in the existing page, and then make the changes as you want to. Document templates, again, it's the same principle, and that is again for creating PDFs, that sort of thing. So it's the same principle there, and the same for email templates. So more often than not, we don't have any email templates in a tenant because it's just using the generic version. But if you want to say, I want to change that account processed invite email because I want to dress it up a little bit, or I'll put a different footer in it, a message from your CEO, that sort of thing. So that now means that when you process new users, then it will send the email from that you've specified in this tenant rather than at platform level. Snippets, again, we're going to go into more detail in a different area, but snippets are the little portions of HTML or content or expressions or whatever. And again, snippets are available at platform level or overridden at tenant level. So, and again, you can import snippets that are at platform level, so that they are always available. Client dashboards, this is where you can create client dashboards for users. So it always starts out with one generic dashboard, But if I just go back a step, actually, that address /client dashboards is on that tenant, and it looks like this. So it's made up of these widgets. If I was to go and edit that, I can see what it's made up of. So these are all the different widgets that you can use. Again, depending on what modules you have and what modules are installed, company announcements, all of this. So all of these are different widgets that have an element of logic to them that will look in the data and do something on that screen. So within this, you can sort of shuffle them around and dress them up, and you can use some style overrides and things to make it look how you want to. Library Builder is a method of creating a sort of a content library. So it's a single page where you can have a menu structure of libraries, and you can also make it look a bit like a blog style sort of set of news articles. And finally, on this stage, fact find. So the fact find builder is a specific module that we can install for you, where you can build quite complex and lengthy fact finds, so multi-page fact finds or multi-person fact finds, so for financial fact finding, that sort of thing. The communications screen, this is all about email broadcasts. So here you can send an email broadcast to your users. So you can say July newsletter. Who do you want to send it to? So you can either send it to DL, which stands for distribution list, DL everyone, or people within specific employee groups that we created. So these are the employee groups we created earlier. Or we've got a couple down here, report lists. So so this is to do with the reports that you can build in Report Builder. You can say, right, if you build a report that says show me all people who meet certain criteria, and save that as a distribution list, then you can use that distribution list. So report list over 55s. So that will just go and find people whose date of birth is over 55 years ago. So the email address really should be sent from your domain that the actual site is hosted on. If you try and send it from a different domain, like your own corporate domain, it's quite possible that a lot of the emails will bounce because their spam filters will show that it's not being sent by the right IP address. But you could put a different suffix in here. So it could be newsletters at whatever your domain is. That should be fine. And then this is the actual subject line of the letter. So here you can type in whatever you like, and we've got this rich text editor, and also you can use placeholders. So in here with the curly braces, I know that I can use parameters. So display name, so that will show the forename and surname of the person. So you've got all the parameters open to you, functions and snippets, so you can really go to town on dressing up this newsletter. Now here you can say, right, upload an email template. So if you've created email templates at system level or at platform level or at tenant level, you can load in that template, and that will load that in, and you can start to customize that. So test send just to me, so it will just send you a version of it, and then send immediately, so that will send it all off to everybody who's on that report list. You can also schedule emails. So this so if we were to say create a new email schedule, so use letters. So how frequently do we want an email to be sent? So if you say, right, send it monthly at the beginning of the month at say 8 o'clock in the morning, and you can toggle this on and off to say whether it's enabled. I'd suggest you set it as disabled to start with. And again, this is who is it going to go to, so we'll send it to this report list. So your newsletter, and then you have to select the email template that you want to send. So again, that can be, it could be that. So it kind of doesn't make sense to be a newsletter, but it would be something where you can periodically just schedule to send emails out to certain people. Announcements. This is more to do with company announcements. This is where you can, again, it's an HR module that we need to install. So this is where you could have a page that says the latest message from your CEO is XYZ. And VoiceBox entries. VoiceBox is another module, HR module, where people can just sort of like post little comments that can appear on the screen. So it's just a little sort of message board thing. Reports. This is again very similar to the area that we looked at here, the report builder and the merged reports, but again just at tenant level. Scheduled reports here is where you can schedule a report to run. So you set a report that you want to run, schedule how frequently you want that to run, and who you want that report to send to. And with that, it will, on that schedule, it will run at the time it's asked to. It will query the database based on that report, on that report builder that you've written at that time, and then it will create a copy of it, create an Excel spreadsheet of it, and send an email to the recipient to say, come here and pick up that data. File transfers, again, is like the platform level where you can send scheduled transfers directly to specific administrators. And incidentally, the scheduled reports, that uses this file transfers area, so it creates the report and it sticks it in the file transfers area ready for the administrator to come and pick it up. And that is the last menu on the tenants navigation structure. The final item here is the actual user, and we're going to go into that in a separate video where we'll start to talk about creating a brand new user and what you can do with them.